plaintiffs. How you doing? It's me, the real Manos, and I wanted to talk to you about She-Hulk. Yeah, I know the show is done for the season. I know. I'm really great at timing on this channel, which tells you why I'm so successful. But no, hey, I want to talk to you about a couple things. I'm going to do a review next week on the show at large. I wanted to wait until the whole season was done so I could get a real kind of good look at it. And two, I want to talk to you about some of my favorite comics related to She-Hulk. And during this whole stupid She-Hulk debate, I would listen to a lot of people talk about She-Hulk and the show as if it was some bastardization of what the character is. And I would listen to some people talk about her like, I don't think you know what this character's about. Like, I think sometimes people would talk about her as if, yeah, I'm a fan of She-Hulk. You know, I see those pin-ups, and I get real turned on. That's the character. Like, that's not the character. You have to actually read the comics to kind of get the gist of it. And I have been doing that for quite some time. Long story short, the series came out originally in 1980, I think, technically, created by Stan Lee, John Buscema. And funny story is that Marvel got whiff that the producers of the CBS television show The Incredible Hulk were kicking around the idea of doing a spin-off with a female Hulk. And here's the tricky, weird thing about like rights and copyright and stuff like that. And you see, if this show had made a spin-off character, they would have owned that character, or at least have some of the rights of the character, and not Marvel. I mean, maybe if Marvel got lucky, they would be able to bring the character back into their own books, but they would still pay, I think, Universal or something, or CBS, or at least the producers would have a piece of that. And you know what Marvel does? Marvel loves money, so of course they were like, screw that, let's get on this and make a character right now. And this weird happenstance happens where she became a great character, and she is one of my favorite characters. I would dare say she, for me, is my third favorite Marvel character, right behind Daredevil and Spider-Man. And I don't understand why my top three superheroes features two lawyers. I don't know what that's about, but so let's get going. I'm going to talk a little bit about the character, and I got into the character late. I started buying the book on the second to last issue, so I really didn't get a great handle on the character, but I didn't have to wait long because Marvel 2-in-1 featuring The Thing and She-Hulk issue 88 comes out. And just quick, this is by David Anthony Kraft and Edward Kuperberg. I'm not actually familiar with these guys as much, but I have to say they kind of helped establish the post-series version of this She-Hulk, and she is kind of like out and about and kind of gets mixed up in an adventure with Ben Grimm where they're both out on the road. She buys this pink Cadillac. Well, actually, she doesn't buy it. She gets it for free because she did a commercial for this used car dealership, and she decides to make it her thing. So she takes off. They end up like fighting this kind of one-shot terrorist supervillain. I've never seen him before or since, but they make quick work of him, by the way. But I gotta say, this is very funny. She is very funny and like has a ton of personality and tons of attitude and doesn't take shit from anybody. And I absolutely adore her in this book. And seeing her put Ben kind of on, I don't know, defensive or make him feel awkward or anything like that, it's really great. And of course, she would be the one to replace Ben in the Fantastic Four just a few years later. And, you know, she is still, to this day, has a pretty good relationship with the Fantastic Four. I adore this issue. It's very funny. It's very early 80s Marvel, but it's a lot of fun. And it kind of got the ball rolling because they did like this character, Marvel, so much so that they brought her into the Avengers. Look, everybody talks about the Hulk being an Avenger and a founding member. He was like in 3 issues or something like that, and gone. Matter of fact, I remember being a teenager, not reading comic books since childhood, not realizing that the Hulk was part of the Avengers. So anyway, issue 222, when the Avengers like dropped down to 4 members, the Trinity, the Avengers Trinity of Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, with the Wasp, and that's it. So they do this recruitment drive and this fun cover, and the whole issue is basically them trying to like find new members, and they pick She-Hulk and Hawkeye, or at least they're the ones that say yes. Meanwhile, we have the subplot of this, kind of like couple of. I think it's I forgot, some villain, some terrible villain decides to attack them just on the same day that they're going to like hit the place and start over there. And they kind of fight it out with them. It's pretty funny, and you get to see like a lot of like fun attitude from her. Let's see, I don't think is this the issue where she just like lays a kiss on Hawkeye, like it embarrasses him. It's very funny. Really dug that. Avengers 221. Now we jump all the way to Fantastic Four again, and like I said, she became a member of the Fantastic Four, replacing Ben when he decided to quit the team for a while after Secret Wars. Now, this is written and drawn by John Byrne, and John Byrne, of course, would become synonymous with the character for a while, and he kind of helped define a lot of what made the character exciting. And he did kind of lean into like the sexiness of the character, but also the humor and attitude. She's kind of got this like over-it attitude when it comes to Marvel stuff. She has a bit of a distance between her and a lot of the things, which makes it funny. So anyway, she is topless sunbathing. I don't know what kind of color she's trying to get. On the roof of the Baxter building, when a helicopter like shows up and takes nude pictures of her. Like, they get away from her, but let's see. She very quickly realizes that what magazine they are with, and the whole issue is this kind of comedic issue with her trying to figure out how to get the pictures back. It's a very funny issue. There's a lot of really good dialogue in this, and how she kind of deals with the legal system, and trying to get the pictures back because she's a lawyer and a superhero and a celebrity. So this kind of like works into what a lot would become of the character and how she would deal with the general public. This is kind of a important issue in that way. Let's see. I gotta say, like, it does feel like this is part of like John Byrne's kind of commentary, because not too long before this, Hustler magazine made a lot of noise when they did the same thing to Jackie O. They found her taking topless sunbathing, and I can't remember. I think it was a paparazzi, or maybe they sent somebody out personally to take photos of her, and then they published them, which is kind of scummy. And this is kind of like Byrne and She-Hulk kind of getting their comments about that. Very good issue. Speaking of Byrne, then we get into the big run he did, and this is the run where famously she broke the fourth wall all the time. And I may make a controversial statement, but I'm not a big fan of breaking the fourth wall. It's never my favorite type of humor, particularly when it's involving something like superheroes, Marvel Universe, for instance, or DC Universe, where you're supposed to take things seriously. There's supposed to be some level of tension, and I feel like breaking the fourth wall just completely ruins that tension. There was a horror movie I saw years ago where the characters kept breaking the fourth wall, and why be scared? It's just a movie. Who cares? But Byrne did some really clever jokes. This is a two-parter they did, 48 and 49, where she accidentally... I don't know how do I explain this. She went to space, and to get out of a situation, she tried to like switch bodies with her assistant Wheezy, and it didn't quite work. And they ended up not switching bodies, but switching forms. So she became like short and chubby, like Wheezy, and Wheezy got her body. they turned into each other, not traded bodies. They traded body shapes. That's it. There's some references to what Doom did with Reed and that weird body switch episode they did. There's references to the there's references to the people that like the Phoenix killed. Those guys. They keep popping up every so often. Anyway, this is a pretty funny two-parter of her and Wheezy trying to deal with the situation. My favorite fourth wall break in this is when Jen and Wheezy and She-Hulk, Wheezy and She-Hulk and Ben come across a villain, and let's see, what is it? This one is... in this issue, your favorite villain, we guarantee it. And they don't show the villain, and they blank out every time they say the villain's name, and it's like generic. Like Ben says something like, I've been waiting for rematch, meeting up for the first time, to get with this guy," or something like that. It's kind of funny. It's basically like, isn't this shit? Aren't these like fights the same thing over and over again? So it just changed names and stuff like that. Anyway, it's actually got a pretty sweet ending, I thought. And in case you read this, I don't want to get too deep into it. But the problem is, Reed Richards discovers that they can switch back anytime. Just Wheezy needs to give permission. She needs to want to do it. Like, both parties need to switch back. And She-Hulk's like, hey, great, awesome. Wheezy doesn't want to switch back. She kind of likes being in the body of She-Hulk, which presents the issue and kind of like hurts their friendship a bit, and challenges them. Really good two-parter. This is 48 and 49 of the Sensational She-Hulk series. She didn't have a book for a while after Byrne, about around, almost 10 years. That's when we get to the Dan Slott era. And let's see. This book, I think, the TV show uses a lot of the fourth wall breaking aspect, but the majority of that show is a lot of the Dan Slott run. And I think the sweet spot on what makes a She-Hulk story is kind of what Dan Slott found. There was a lot of good humor. What he decided to do was turn it into a lawyer sitcom. He kind of like used the show Ally McBeal, which is a show I frankly don't like, but it's a good idea to use that as sort of a model for a She-Hulk comic. And yeah, you get to see her view to the Marvel Universe while trying to be a lawyer and being a superhero and balancing all that at the same time. And that's one of the things I like so much about this series. Let's see. Who did the art on this? Juan Bublio. And that was Juan was basically the artist on a lot of these first issues for the series. And I really dug their style on this. I gotta say, let's see, there's a couple of choice favorites. Issue 4 with Spider-Man. This is the one where her law firm convinces Spider-Man, you should sue the Bugle for slander. Holy crap, this is a great book. It's very funny. Peter Parker gets his revenge on Jameson up to a point, and there's a pretty funny twist, of course, in a sort of Spider-Man-ish way. And of course, Dan Slott would eventually write Spider-Man for 10 years. And you can definitely see in this issue how hardcore he wants to write Spider-Man. This is a very funny issue, and She-Hulk and Spider-Man is always a good combination. They have a lot of funny parts with each other. And then finally, in the Dan Slott run, I'm not going to make this whole Dan Slott stuff, but issue, which one is this? This is 9, and okay, fun fact, she dated J. Jonah Jameson's son, John Jameson, for a little while, and they were engaged. This came really close, so this is probably my favorite part of the series, this storyline, excuse me, of them dating, is She-Hulk and John have dinner with J. Jonah Jameson and his wife. Oh, it's great. She-Hulk asks them, so where did you two meet? And she says, well, Jameson hired me to build a robot to kill Spider-Man. And it's, oh my god, this is such a great issue. J. Jonah Jameson is such a magical character. You can put him in almost any situation, and he's just a delight. And this is a very funny issue. Once again, you can definitely tell Dan Slott is just itching to write Spider-Man. So, hey, let's jump over to the criminally underutilized and underappreciated Charles Soule run. And I absolutely love his run. He actually did like kind of a really Javier Peludo, by the way, does the art, and essentially it's a 12-issue run, and Jen gets tired of dealing with crap from one law firm after another, and she just quits and starts her own law firm all by herself. And it's a lot, because the Avengers, as you see from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, really don't pay their heroes very well. So she has to kind of like figure out how to do it. And this is probably my favorite. There's a lot of gold in this 12 issues, but my particular favorite is, let's see, this is issues 8, 9, and 10. And this is an arc where someone is suing Captain America for not, for like incompetence and not like doing his best to save them. And none other than Matt Murdock is their lawyer. So She-Hulk defends Captain America against Matt Murdock, and it's great. And yes, they do team up as heroes as well during the story. Charles doesn't miss that, but it's actually really cool to watch them compete as lawyers in this. I really love Peludo's art, by the way. It's really distinct. It's got a nice, like, God, it's got such this. It has this style that really like grabs you, and it's really unique. And you know, it doesn't look like any other book. When he does a book, it doesn't look like any other typical Marvel book. Absolutely fun stuff, and this is a really good arc. I would recommend. I think it's all available in trade now because the She-Hulk show. You know, anything they can get, they can trade. This one's really good. So. Then we switch to the dark side, where Jen faces her absolute worst enemy of all time, Brian Michael Bendis. Now, every time Brian Michael Bendis has featured She-Hulk in a story he's written, he has wrecked her, put her through the ringer, and he has like denied that he hates She-Hulk. I've seen him like answer this question on Tumblr and Twitter a couple of times. Like, no, I don't hate She-Hulk. I do that to all my characters that I write. I'm like, no, you don't. You specifically hit her hard every time she appears in one of his stories. And Civil War 2 is no different. Matter of fact, it's one of the worst ones. She is put into a coma after Bruce Banner is killed, and she wakes up kind of like savage and like suffering through a lot of PSD. And the best story involving this is actually an issue of Hellcat 8. Patsy Walker, aka Hellcat number 8. This is from Kate Lith and Brittany Williams. And this is Hellcat dealing with the fact that her friend, by the way, during the Charles Soule run, she gets hired by She-Hulk to be kind of her agent in the field, and they become really tight friends during that. And this deals with the fact that she is like kind of helpless trying to deal with her friend in a coma, and there's nothing she can do about it. And she's trying to do her best to keep Jen's law firm together. And it like has a lot of really sweet, touching scenes. And Brittany Williams' art style is a bit more cartoony than some of the other Marvel books you might be used to, and she uses that to such great effect to bring out emotion in these pages. And in this issue, this is a tie-in, Jen doesn't wake up. She's still in a coma by the end of this issue. So who knows what will happen, if you're just reading this one. Really good stuff. Definitely, if you're picking up She-Hulk stuff, look for this one. Now, speaking of that dark side I was mentioning, hey, they took Bruce Banner off the board for a minute, and they were kind of like going to turn into the Immortal Hulk with the Green Door thing. That's something that Al Ewing was working on. But for that time period, they shifted She-Hulk into the Hulk position. with this book from, let's see, Makino Tamaki and Nico Leon doing the work. And she is suffering from the trauma of that situation. And we get to see a She-Hulk series unlike we never do. We usually have, like I've been talking about, like a lot of fun sitcom-y type of stuff. And not so much here. We get into more of a horror kind of like series a little bit. And Tamaki does something interesting. I haven't heard her talk about this, but it really does feel like she took a inspiration from the Bruce Jones run on the Hulk, which was like 10 years earlier from this. And for those of you who don't know, Bruce Jones did a lot of like building the tension as to when Banner would turn into the Hulk, and like, you know, he would savor that kind of thing. And that's what Tamaki does with this series as well. Like, you don't know when she's going to change, and you know what's going to, like, you know, put her through it. And it's kind of like sad and stressful to read because, like, I'm used to She-Hulk having, fun and stuff like that, and that doesn't happen here. So it's a really stressful book, for the right reasons. Unfortunately, Tamaki didn't really get to finish this chapter in She-Hulk's life. That kind of went to Jason Aaron when he was writing Avengers and She-Hulk was on that team. But then we get to the immortal She-Hulk, which Al Ewing answers the question, hey, how does She-Hulk fit into the whole Green Door thing that you're doing? And it is quite good, where we get kind of a history of She-Hulk and her deaths, quote unquote. And, what's happened to her and how many times, she's gone through the door and how it's affecting her. One of my favorite moments, actually, is an early flashback when we get to see her as a child be told from her dad what happened to the Banners, Bruce's parents and stuff like that. And it was really interesting to see how that side of the family dealt with that. There's a really cool scene of her talking to Wolverine about, like, the times he's died. And he's like, you take it as it comes, kind of thing. And it's a really great book. Big fan of this one. It's a bit more serious, but not as serious as the Tamaki run. It's a bit more on the fantastical side. Really great. It's just a one-shot. Highly recommended. Then we get to the current run, which, I'll be honest, I was having trouble picking a favorite out of this, so I'm just going to say the current run is one of my favorite She-Hulks. It's actually one arc right now because it is dealing with a romance of sorts between her and Jack of Hearts, who is kind of a mostly D-list character who has been dead for a long time, and when they were on the Avengers together, his powers affected her and drained her. So now he is back to life for some mysterious reason, and she's trying to help him kind of get back into the world, and his powers are declining. And as they've been declining, they've actually been getting more and more closer. It's also using a lot of both the John Byrne and Dan Slott runs. Like Mallory Book is back from the Dan Slott run. The apartment she had and a lot of the fashion she had from the John Byrne run, she has. That's the Wasp apartment, and she used to let Jen live there, and Jen lost a job again. She was having trouble, so Wasp said, you can just have that place again. Just go back. You can live there. And all her clothes from that run are still there, so that's really fun. I'm digging this one a lot. It's not done yet. The first arc isn't finished yet, so I'm not sure where we're going at the time of this recording, so you can definitely check it out and see what's going on. There's a lot of Jack of Hearts, and he's actually very compelling in this. I didn't even say who was doing this. This is Rainbow Rowell and Rogue Antonio. By the way, Jen Bartel is doing these gorgeous covers. Absolutely beautiful covers. Not to mention, Bartel is actually bringing back the corner box, which is always a big favorite of mine. I love corner boxes on Marvel books. They should have never gotten rid of those. That's my favorites. I had a couple of honorable mentions. There is a issue of Solo Avengers where Jen goes to the Supreme Court in order to talk about mutant rights, and she keeps getting interrupted by Titania. It's written by Chris Claremont, and I believe Alan Davis did the art. It's a short 10, 15 pages. It's hilarious. It's a great issue. If you can find it, I think it's collected in a couple She-Hulk trades. I'd go look for it. There's also the Dwayne McDuffie Ceremony two-parter. I actually don't have a copy of that. That's also an interesting book. It's a little bit more on the serious superhero side, and it's Dwayne McDuffie. It's really good stuff. So, hey, those are my recommendations. Do you have any of yours? Although I don't know. I think I've kind of basically talked about all the high notes in She-Hulk's career. Let me know in the comments below, what comics do you like from She-Hulk? Is there anything here that's a discovery for you? I'd recommend checking them out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hit me in the notification. Let's see, you can hit the notification bell. You can like, subscribe for all things Manos. You can find me at, I don't know, like Twitter, Facebook, on TikTok. I'm at Justin Cristelli, and you can support the channel and Manos Publishing just $1 a month at Patreon. So I gotta run. I'm due in court in any minute. Push the button and say.